Shalom to everybody who might be watching this. Um, yeah, it saddens me that I haven't made one of these videos for a little while. If you're like me, things are immensely difficult in lots of ways that some you might expect and others you couldn't, of course. And I've often thought about making these videos, continuing to make them over the last 3 months or whatever, 6 months. But they do take time, and I'd like to put the time into them. So, anyways, without further ado, I do hope you're well. I hope that you're finding and searching for the good in these times that are quite rough. And we have a resource in the Psalter, thank God, for especially tough times, especially times in which that which is evil is paraded or pretended to be not evil. And I think it's a time right now in which the term wicked or evil is bandied about, and it's easy to lose our bearings as to what that might mean. Um, and I'm not trying to send meta messages. I just think it's ever important for us to return to the scriptures of Israel and the church to interrogate our own understandings of good and evil, um, so that we're not importing into them our own kind of predilections and um, our own maybe self-deceiving inclinations, right? So, without further ado, Psalm 10. And then I'll read it slowly, and then I'm going to sing it to kind of simplified Anglican chant. Lama Adonai ta'amod berachok ta'alim le'itot בצרה, בגאוות רשע ידלק עוני. יתפסו במזימות זו חשבו, כי הלל רשע על תאוות נפשו, ובוצע ברך ניאץ אדוני. רשע כגובה אפו בל ידרוש, אין אלוהים כל מזימותיו. יכילו דרכיו בכל עת, מרום משפטיך מנגדו. כל צורריו יפיח בהם. אמר בליבו, בל אמות, לדור ודור אשר לו ורע. למה אדוני תעמוד ברחוק, תעלים לאיתות בצרה, בגאוות רשע ידלק עוני, יתפסו במזימות זו חשבו, כי הלל רשע על תאוות נפשו, ובוצע ברך ניאץ אדוני. רשע כגובה אפו בל ידרוש, אין אלוהים כל מזימותיו. יכילו דרכיו בכל עת, מרום משפטיך מנגדו. כל צורריו יפיח בהם. אמר בליבו, בל אמות, לדור ודור אשר לו ורע. All right, so let's look into this. I do pray that God would bless you and encourage you and be with you as we read through this and look at translation possibilities. Lama Adonai ta'amod berachok. So it begins with the question Lama, which means that we are in the world of lament. You can think lament, Lama. Lama means for what or why. Why Adonai, right? Yud He Vav He, the name of God, addressed personally. Would you stand afar off? Would you stand berachok? Is a prepositional phrase or an idiom meaning, far away. Ta'alim, would you literally conceal or cause to be concealed, but yourself here is the implication. Would you vanish? I translated specifically in moments great distress, and you can see the ba, the preposition ba here and here, um, batzara, like in in my oppression, or moments of great distress. Um, yeah, for my reading, I think I'm encouraged by what's here, maybe discouraging to the original confessor, the original one who laments, and we share in this lamentation. Um, it's not just that it appears that God is afar off. The question is quite literal. I think it's easy to soften the blow, and in doing so, we begin to lie to ourselves, which is something that many of our congregations and confessions are quite good at, rather than just dealing with the blunt edge of the words. Why would you stand far off? Would you vanish, dissipate in moments of great distress? Right. So interestingly, it opens with that which later on the wicked would just assume, that is, that God's just not present. He doesn't exist. He's not involved, or kind of a really um, a deist position, that God's so far off that we're left to deal with our own problems and distresses on our own. And in that case, like, it's the law of the jungle, and the law of the jungle means that those who can vaunt themselves up and tread on those who can't will. And that's how it appears, and that is very much the nature of this lament. It is the social evils um, that lead the psalmist to say, "Where in the world are you?" All right, Baga'avat Rasha, in the hubris, or I say the egomania of the wicked. Yidlak Oni, the poor are like set on fire. I say here, are burned up or lit like kindling and devastated. And then I take this in the jussive, or that it would be in the future. May they yitafsu. Nitfas would be to be caught. So yitafsu would be to get grasped, to be, that they may be grasped up in those very plots that they themselves have hatched or devised. Because why? Because Hillel Rasha al Ta'avat Nafsho. Because the wicked has vaunted himself, or gloated over the lusts of his own life, or his own soul. Right? Like that is the thing, that the good in the conception or the worldview of the wicked uh, are his own lusts. Um, we should take pause with this, man. Just, I think culturally it's very easy to speak about social ills at a distance, but I think all of us probably have bought in part or parcel to the fact that part of the good, part of the good life, is to seek um, uh, kind of our own material satisfaction. That that this that this would this is kind of the highest end, our comfort and well-being, and that there's something, I think, evil in this. Not that we would have our needs met. That's not what it's about. Ta'ava is a word that harkens back to Genesis, in the garden, right? Um, that the ta'ava is like, right, it has to do with desire and lust, and then that is echoed or carried into the next verse of votsea, which is one who plunders or gets the booty. Um, the plunderer, the one who, I say, severs lives, and I'll explain why I take it that way, for unjust gain, blesses. This is such an interesting half verse. We'll take it, then I'll mention something about syntax here as well. Ambiguity here is important, I say. Okay, so first of all, botsea, batza has to do either with unjust gain or cutting off a life. And so there are two, I think, possible roots here. And I believe the psalmist is playing on that. That both the unjust gain or the one who plunders does so and cuts off or severs life to get it done. Now, for those of you who are strict in your grammar, you would say that, well, it can only be one, but again, word plays exist all over the Hebrew Bible, and I think that there's something going on in that. And then berech, as you know, maybe from Job, right, where what literally, what the words wouldn'tly mean in Job's wife telling him, curse God and die, what she says is like berech, like bless God and die. But this is a kind of idiom or slang, let's say. What I want to suggest is it could mean like the one who plunders curses and spurns Adonai. That's possible. It might also mean, even more ambiguously, that this one sort of blesses God, but actually in their blessing God, their action is in plundering, spurning the Almighty. So there's just a whole lot packed into this by putting these two PL verbs one after the other, berech and ni'etz, like the blessing is the spurning. It could be a lot. Straightforwardly, it ain't good. But I think the stacking of them is to mirror the duplicity of this person. So you'll note that I've broken this up along, see this little wishbone-y looking thing? That's called the Atnach. And the Atnach is essentially in the system of the reading, what's called the Ta'amim, the cantorial marks. You can see there's little marks under here, and these little marks, some of them are the nikudim or the nekudot, are the dots to tell you where the vowels are, but some of these are chanting marks or syntactic markers. So I've broken these along the kind of main disjunction or the main disjunctive accent, and that's how that is. So you can learn a bit about that. Rasha kagova apo bal yidrosh. So I say the wicked, as you have here the k, as sort of towering or as like mounting up his wrath. Bal yidrosh, he does not seek. Now there's again more ambiguity here. It could be the wicked, as his wrath towers, says something like God will not call to account, or literally he will not call to account. He will not seek it out. Right, so I can do whatever the hell I want. He's not gonna seek it out. There's no God, and then maybe break. You can see the reviyah is another accent, which is a disjunctive mark. All his schemes, all his devisings are like this, right? In all of his devisings, he thinks like God's not going to call to account. He's not going to seek it out. There is no God. You could take it that way, or you could take it as something like the wicked, as his towering wrath, will not seek, or in his towering wrath, however, he'll not seek God, right? God is, and then you could say God is not present. All of his schemes. There you would have to infer in all of his schemes. That's, I think, all we're actually going to get through today, because I can see the time is closing, but that's fine. We'll just pick it up tomorrow where we leave off here. I'm going to continue on tomorrow with Yachilu, which is an interesting verse. You'll note that in a lot of the English translations, they say that this has to do, is probably like he prospers. But I think there's good reason to take this as like winding like a snake, or as being very serpentine, his ways. All right, till tomorrow.